And we back. Gonna talk a little bit about college football. We have had an incredible couple weeks. Obviously, the college football national championship just happened. It was really cool to see Ohio State win that. The game didn't look like it was gonna be that good, and then all of a sudden it was. The game got obviously much better. Notre Dame came back. Shout out to Ohio State. They finally win the big one under Ryan Day. First national championship, I believe, in 11 years since the first year of the college football playoff, the 4-team one. Ohio State looks primed to be a dominant force in the years to come. Going to lose a lot of pieces this year, but obviously still have a lot of young talent on this team. But I want to talk about the losers in that game. Chris Ash, the new defensive coordinator at Notre Dame after Al Golden left to go to the Cincinnati Bengals. If you're not familiar with Chris Ash, he's been a defensive coordinator for 6 seasons at Wisconsin, Arkansas, Ohio State, Texas. Was recently a scout for the Jaguars. He's been in the NFL the last couple of years. I'm reading it here. Jaguar safeties coach, Vegas defensive backs coach. He was Rutgers head coach from 2016 to 2019. He was terrible. I mean, they were 8-32, but it's hard to win at Rutgers. So I'm not going to give him too much slack for that. His defense at Ohio State was the second-ranked scoring defense in the country. Wisconsin, his 2 years there, was 6th and 17th. He was a defensive coordinator at Drake. He was a graduate assistant at Iowa State. Was a recruiting coordinator and DB coach. Did the same thing at San Diego State, and then obviously with Wisconsin. It'll be interesting to see his scheme and how they implement there at Notre Dame. Notre Dame was, again, they were a very veteran team this past season. A sneaky person that I'd like to keep your eye on, Kennedy Urlacher. He's going to be a stud for them. I also thought it was really funny that Brett Bielema called out Jim Harbaugh. If you saw the video of Jim Harbaugh that resurfaced on Twitter the last couple of days, Brett Bielema quote tweeted that tweet and essentially was like, "Oh, I was looking forward to play you. You ran to the NFL. Yada yada yada. Why'd you do that?" I just thought it was really funny. But what I really want to talk about here while I have you guys is the Senior Bowl. I think the Senior Bowl this year is super important because we've seen a lot of guys shy away from it. Carson Beck is a guy who I thought he was going to be like the third best quarterback in this class, and he decided to stay in this draft, in college, transfer to Miami, and potentially raise his draft stock even higher for the next draft. But this quarterback class here in the 2025 draft is not that good. I think it's Shedeur Sanders, Cam Ward, and then everybody else. And then for me, the guy that I'm looking at is Jalen Milroe. I think he has a legit chance to go into the Senior Bowl and become the best of the rest. I don't think he's going to surpass Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders, but if you tell me he's the third quarterback taken, I wouldn't be shocked. I've seen him as high as 4 on a lot of drafts, and that's before Senior Bowls, the combines, anything like that. The athleticism and a lot of the physical traits are there for Jalen Milroe. It's just the mental game and the arm. He's fast as shit. And again, this is a weak quarterback class, but there's a lot of NFL teams that need a quarterback. I mean, let's just. I'm going to look this up as I'm talking because I do want to make sure I'm saying this right. But the NFL draft order is Tennessee, who maybe could take a quarterback, Cleveland, who needs a quarterback, the Giants, who need a quarterback, New England doesn't, Jacksonville, I don't think they do, but Vegas does, the Jets do-ish, Carolina, you could see it. I'm not going to count them, but for the New Orleans, so that's 6 teams alone in the top 9 that I think could use a quarterback. And we've only mentioned 2 quarterbacks. And so if Jalen Milroe can assert himself, I think he could be the best of the rest, be the third quarterback. I've heard from people, I don't want to say sources, but people, that Jalen Milroe could make a Anthony Richardson type leap. If you're telling me that, there's no way in hell you're not telling me that he couldn't get to 3. Listen, I don't think he's at all the third best player in this class. But quarterbacks rise because quarterbacks, only 32 of them. There's only 32 jobs. And if you're one of those 32 best players in the world at that position, you're going to get picked. And to me, I think Jalen Milroe is the guy that could potentially take that and use that to his advantage. But he has to prove he can fix the inconsistencies that he had at Alabama. Plenty of teams need a quarterback. I just went through that. But there's a lot of teams that might go through the vet or the free agent route or just, take the year off essentially and go for next year's draft class. But I think Jalen Milroe has a chance to use the Senior Bowl to potentially boost himself into that first or second round. Another guy I want to talk about is Walter Nolan. Walter Nolan is the number 2 defensive lineman in this class, according to Bleacher Report and their NFL scouting department. I've seen him, all over the place. This past season, 6.5 sacks in his only season there at at Ole Miss. He'd only had 5 sacks in his 2 career years at Texas A&M. And looking at Senior Bowl practice on Tuesday, Nolan was everywhere. He's like a top 20, top 15 prospect. So he's already really a lock to go in that first round. At least, barring a pro day or a measurements or a combine or anything forcing him to fall. But I think he has a chance to move even into the top 10. And I think a continued strong showing at the Senior Bowl has a chance to get him. There's been reports anywhere between 11 and, again, 18 should be looking at him because you shouldn't be, again, a lot of those teams you shouldn't be looking at talent overlap, and you should just be looking at best player available. Honestly, talent-wise, after Chicago at 10, and maybe even Chicago at 10, not really because I think the Chicago Bears should go offensive line. They should go anywhere but defensive line. I don't need, go get those guys in bets. Go get a cheap left tackle. Go get a cheap, I don't know, something. But any team, outside that top 10, Walter Nolan's going to be the best player on the board, at least talent-wise to me. And finally, this one, I hate to say this out loud. I hate it. I hate to say this out loud because I fucking hate Missouri. But I want to talk about Ahmad Membo. I did a Missouri build. Ahmad Membo was an absolute stud. He's a top-ranked, to me, he's the best offensive tackle in the class. And he's a first-round guy, top 25 guy, depending on how you feel about it, where you look. He seems like a lock, again, to land in the first round. He's had a good showing. If he can continue to show well at the Senior Bowl, combines, pro days, et cetera, he should be fine as long as he doesn't, something doesn't come out about him. And there's a lot of teams picking in that bottom half of the first round that could use an offensive line help. I mean, we're looking at, Kansas City. I'm just going to say Kansas City, even though they're 31-32. Not because I think they need an offensive line. Their offensive line has been fantastic this season. But, I think they might lose Trey Smith. Who could use an offensive lineman? You're telling me Houston or the Rams couldn't? Picking at 25 or 26? Maybe Pittsburgh, Denver. I mean, you can't have too many good offensive linemen. But the problem is, again, it's tough to draft a guy, immediately throw him at left tackle. But if you think that he could do it, and I think he can, unfortunately, I wish he would be a bust. But no, I don't wish he would be mean, but whatever, you know what I mean. I think again, teams like Denver, maybe Pittsburgh, and others in that bottom half could be all over our member. I think he's the best left tackle in this draft. I think he just has the measurables and the skills, and we've seen enough of him on tape at Missouri to believe that. I think a lot of teams are in love with Bill Campbell, and I think Bill Campbell has the lowest floor. Or the highest floor, but I think Ahmad Membo has the highest ceiling as left tackle. And yeah, that's really all I wanted to talk about. I might do more of these just quick, short hitters. I hope you guys enjoy stuff like this. It's really cool to talk about college football and sports in general. I love doing videos like this. Make sure to comment down below if you want to see me do anything else. Make sure to like and subscribe. And if YouTube thinks you're going to like this video, find out if they're right.